What's up? What's up? What's up, people? Let's see what we got going on here. Oops. Live right now on StreamYard. We are sending this out to everybody. Make sure that we are on the same page. Pastor Daggie from Derek Hicks Ministries. We're going live right now. Hopefully, get my guest on in a minute here. Check it out. On Instagram. Yeah. I guess here in a minute there. Hopefully everybody's having a good day today. Still waiting for my guest to come on. I don't know. Some technical things going on. But we are on StreamYard Live. Check us out on social media or on YouTube. Yeah, we're here. Let's see. Can we get my guest in here? Yes. So just gonna wait a little bit more. I guess to come on. Let's see. Let's see if we can put it on. Yeah. But just so you know, this is Pastor Daggie again, Derek Hicks Ministries. We are live right now talking about systematic racism. I normally do the Strength for Your Soul broadcast, but today we are doing something different. Hopefully, you guys will get something out of this. And I'm going to wait for a few minutes. Here's my call. Hey, Evan.
Hey, how's it going?
It's going, man. Did you get?
Hey, just wanted to know I'm in the room here.
Okay. Let's see. Where you at here?
I didn't know if there was an issue on my side or your side or not.
Let's see. Yeah, I don't know. I got you on my phone too, coming through the system, so that's fine.
Okay.
Yeah, we can do it that way if you want. Let's record. Just record on
We
it.
can do it through StreamYard or whatever. I have it pulled up on my computer.
Yeah, I got that up right now. I'm waiting for you to come on.
I'm sitting here. Is it not letting me in? Does it not show that I'm here?
No, it doesn't. Here, let me send this to you. You got Messenger or email?
Yeah, send it to my email.
Okay, so
I'll just click out of it.
yeah. What's your email?
It's Evan, EVAN, at Evan, EVAN, HERRMAN.com.
So Evan,
So
EBN.
it's Evan at evanherman.com.
Oh, send it to you right now. Yeah. Here we go. Here you go. Check that out. So how you doing today?
I'm good, man. How are you?
I'm doing all right, man. I'm excited about this subject of systematic racism. It's a great subject to talk about.
I am as well.
The StreamYard stuff is all new for me. So how do I sound? I sound okay?
Well, I mean, you're on my tongue, so
Right. I got you going through my mixer. I have this Zoom mixer I'm going through. I can pick up on phone or whatever, you know.
Okay. Yeah, I have a podcast with Pro, and so once I see this link come through here, you check the email again. Make sure we have the correct email address.
Okay. Let me go back to that. Oh, you got 2 hours on there.
Yep, 2 hours.
That makes a difference.
So it's Evan at evanherman.com, HERRMAN.
RM. Okay. Good. Yeah. Coming at you here. .com. Okay, here let's come at you again here. Do you hear the music?
I do not.
No? Huh.
So you emailed me a link, correct?
Yeah.
Not coming through. There.
Okay.
Oh, there it is. I see.
You got it?
And I have to probably open this on a different, probably like Chrome.
Yeah. Are you on your
Yeah,
you're on your phone, right?
Let me open it on Chrome.
Let's see.
Okay.
I'll let you in. Let's see. I'm sending you another one too on top of that, right behind that. Just to make sure.
I am here now.
Let's see. Where are you? Why isn't that showing up?
You see me?
No. Let's see on here yet. Why? It's crazy. This is like, it's a trip. I had no guests on here. You see me?
Nope.
Click on that last link I sent you.
All right.
Yeah. So that first one I sent you, I think that's just a melon one, but the second one I sent you is from my broadcast right now.
It only shows me in it.
Oh, okay. Alrighty then. What is that all about? That's crazy.
I'm clicking on the meetgoogle.com
Uh-huh.
/Yovid Guzo something.
Oh, you said meet?
Yeah, it shows Google Meet on the calendar.
Yeah.
Yeah, that link that says join me with Google Meet.
No, that shouldn't be there. What in the world?
Maybe that.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is the link that it's sending me to.
Wow, that's crazy. Huh.
Little StreamYard.
It's, all right. How about if I do this here? You can go with the second round. So you're gonna be talking through your phone the whole time, right? Is that what you normally do anyway?
No, I normally go to the computer.
To the computer. Okay, so you want to just do like YouTube or something, or I could bring up my speaker real quick. We can go through that.
Hey, whatever you want, man.
Okay. So let's switch over to speaker. Or we can, matter of fact, you on the phone, so we can go Anchor if you want to do that over the phone. I got that right here.
Yeah, that's fine.
Let's do that. All right, so you're on Anchor right now. We are talking about systematic racism. I have my buddy and guest Evan Herman on, and we're gonna get right into it. Evan, you want to elaborate real quick on what you do and your podcast and everything? And what are you mainly concerned about? Yeah, about you talk about the whole person. So what are you basically talking about on your podcast with the whole person? What? Oh, okay. So when you're doing your broadcast with the whole person stuff, do you talk about any spiritual things or anything like that?
Salvation through Jesus Christ quite often,
Right, right.
and how that plays out into all other areas of our life.
Mm-hmm. Amen. Yeah, because from a point of view, we're both Christians. You know, Evan is a white male. I'm a black male. We're coming together for this systematic racism thing because I'm a black man raised different. He's a white man raised different. But we're all in the image of Christ. We're all in the image of God. So we come together to try to squash this systematic racism stuff, and that's why we're on today.
Real quickly, I'm getting a lot of feedback from your end, like an echo and static.
What about now?
Yeah, that's better.
I must have my monitor up too loud. Are you good? Hear me?
Yep, I can so much better.
Oh, okay. That must have been my mic feeding back. Can you hear me? Can you hear me better now?
I can.
Is that cool? Is that cool right there?
Absolutely.
Okay, good. Yeah, so you think about that, and it's like, let's define systematic racism. Let's start off with that. What is your definition of systematic racism? What do you think? I have my definition, but what is your definition? When you think about systematic racism, what do you think about?
Well, it's a system, whether a lot of people want to say systematic racism is mainly only against Black people,
Right.
which is false. Systematic racism is a system that is racist towards different ethnicities, not just particularly one. We tend to try to hyper focus on one here in America, but there are systematic issues across the world, not just here in America.
That's so true. So true.
You were talking about oppression and stuff like that, and I made a comment the other day. one of the most dangerous things to the African American community, I said, is a white liberal. And if someone who is liberal listening to this, like, what? How is that possible? Well, if you look at a lot of the records of the Democrats, we see a lot of oppression against African American communities, whether that's through legislation or as well as things that they have said or done in public. So, for example, let's take the current vice president. She incarcerated more African American men when she was the state, attorney general, and she withheld evidence proving of a man's innocence on death row when she should have been able to release that to prove his innocence. She chose not to. She was trying to condemn an innocent man to death. Let's look at legislation. Kennedy and Lyndon B. Johnson really did a number to the African American community, not just the African American community, but poor families in general. But the ones that were hit the most was the African American community when they expanded welfare status. And so basically what has happened, now let me read you something. Are you good with that?
Go ahead.
Okay, so this is from an organization called If Studies, and they've studied what has happened to communities over a period of time. It is important to realize that things weren't always as so. The Black American family provides a stark example. From 1890 to 1950, Black women had a higher marriage rate than white women. And in 1950, just 9% of Black children lived without a father. Think about that. In 1950, only 9% of African American kids did not have a father. By 1960, the Black marriage rate had declined, but remained close to the white marriage rate. So basically, Black marriages, African American marriages, were better and stronger than the nuclear white family at one point in time. Okay, think about that.
Interesting.
By 1960, the Black marriage rate had declined and remained close to the white marriage rate. In other words, despite open racism and widespread poverty, strong Black families used to be the norm. But by the mid-1980s, Black fatherlessness skyrocketed. Today, only 44% of children in Black families have a father in the home.
I don't mean to cut you off. You still reading?
Yeah, you're fine.
You're still going?
Yeah, well, there's more here.
Yeah, let me interject with that one.
Go
So
for it.
from an African American point of view, like I said, my dad was my background is my dad. We came up from Mississippi. My dad was a slave. He got freed. He came up north, so we all came up north. But during that time, matter of fact, even with my dad, you think about dad not being in the house, of African American men and stuff, and how that affects African American men and how it affects the household. But he came up here without our family. Rest his soul, he's dead now. But he came up here, and then his wife came up. My mom came up. But that they got a divorce after that, and ever since that, we see this pattern of. I mean, I try to be a mentor and coach too. I'm an educator. I'm an entrepreneur, music minister, pastor, whatever. I try to reach people that have these broken homes, and it's because there's things that happen down the line and stuff with the African American male. There's things that happen in the household. It's not just because the African American. It's just that there is a mentality, there is a mindset. It's kind of like a macho man thing, and so it's like sometimes our flesh gets in the way. It doesn't matter if you're African American or white. Sometimes our flesh gets in the way, and we go after things of the world, and we get caught up in the world. And I think with my dad, he got caught up in the world. He got caught up. He came up here. But unfortunately, he had some other lady and stuff, and then my mom had to find out, and she eventually divorced him. But just that that mindset that it's like, hey, marriage is sacred. To me, I'm married now, so I'm trying to do it right, but that is sacred. And when we start going outside that, then we got these broken homes. Then it's a generational thing. So if his dad was doing the same stuff, he's inherited that until he really gets set free from that. So it's like a generational thing too. On top of that African American thing, there's some things that happen there, slave times, some things that happen to other fathers, and then that cycle continues. It continues, and it's like like a mentality or a mindset or a stronghold almost. It's like a stronghold. That's what I want to say. It's a stronghold, and it has to be broken. That generational curse that's upon the family from the fathers, the African American fathers. I continue to talk to the African American boys and say, hey, look, that's not continue that cycle, of just, hey, I'm going from job to job. Oh, instability, I don't want to be, I don't want to be with that person anymore, blah, blah, blah. So I'm going to jump ship early. I can't, deal with all that, blah, blah, blah. So it's like, it's a cycle. It's a mindset. It's a cycle. It's a generational thing. And I can say that from a, point of view of African American.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
And you're still reading, and I interjected, so go ahead and do it.
No, you're good. No, you're good. Well, and the reason why, when I said white liberalism, is they have this savior complex where what they do through legislation, whether it's intentional or unintentional, I don't know. But when they expanded the welfare program, it incentivized single Black women or single white women. And that incentivized women not to have a household because they would be able to have a better financial pool. And so at first the financial gain was, I don't want to say worth it because it wasn't, but they were able to be taken care of. Well, fast forward now with inflation, you still need two people in the family to even have a living wage. But what that ended up happening is it created fatherlessness. And fatherlessness, not just in the Black community, but in any community, creates a higher dropout rate within teenagers, which is becoming a pandemic in African American communities.
Wow.
And when there's a higher dropout rate, there's a higher incarceration rate. And so that's why we will see prisons filled more with African Americans than we will white men in general because of a higher education. But then that goes back to father as well. And so it all stems from the nuclear family. So when I hear BLM's phrases being shot, I said, no, BLM does not have the African American community in its best interest because it seeks to destroy the nuclear family. I don't know if it's still on their website, but I screenshotted their facts that saying we are against, and they're not going to say specifically fathers in the family, but they said male influences and misogyny is what they said.
Wow.
I could get misogyny, but the specific of male influences, it's basically anti-men is what it was stating. So when you break down the nuclear family, then you create a higher dropout rate, you create fatherlessness, you create a higher incarceration rate, lower education, which means more poverty. And it's a vicious cycle. The other thing too about BLM is they have not contributed to developing a community at all. All it does is activism, and a lot of it turns violent. Or at least that's the perception of a lot of people. And meanwhile, the heads of BLM are buying multi-million-dollar mansions all across the U.S. I believe the president just got ousted, no, I shouldn't say ousted, but has received some public criticism lately for buying her fourth multi-million-dollar mansion in an all-white neighborhood.
Wow.
just saying. I am just saying this organization is anti-black, even though they claim they're for the black community.
I see. I was reading their statement today, and it was like looking at in the about section, and at the end it said that it was talking about like basically bringing people together, blah blah blah, with the injustice stuff, and you know I see that part where they came up, and I see from a African American point of view that there's some things that they raised questions on with systematic racism and the racism stuff that's going on. So they did that part, but I looked at this there about them, and it was saying all this, we're all sinners saved by grace, but this homosexual stuff, all that stuff is in there, and it's like you support basically anything that, and even if it's wrong in society, even if it's wrong in God's eyes, you support that, and I'm not with that. I'm with okay, you brought some points up where we need to take a look at brutality. We need to take a look at the systematic racism. Yes, that's good, but the rest of your stuff, I don't agree with, and I did not know what you were saying about that mansion and all that stuff. I mean, because we got
it's
wow,
well documented. Go look at it.
that's
She has
crazy.
like multi-million-dollar mansions, like 4 of them,
Right.
and they're all in like all white neighborhoods. So if she's so scared of white man bad, why is she buying multi-million-dollar mansions in exclusively white areas?
Wow. That's crazy.
And so that's why I mean it's just huge hypocrisy. It's a lie that is being sold. And I think they're using social justice as a source of division, as well as a way, because obviously we can get behind justice, right? That's an easy buy-in.
Right.
And so they use that as a way to get attraction, but they're not doing anything to bring people together. And winning these riots and these vandals, that's not justice.
Yeah, I know some of that. It's like just some knuckleheads. It's not necessarily them, but you got the Antifa and all that junk. You got people that just want to show out because you got this march going on. So now you got people that think they can get away with doing what they want. So you got these knuckleheads that do it. I don't know if it's Black Lives Matter, but it's that and Antifa and all that stuff. It's just a knuckle.
Antifa.
Just a bunch of knuckleheads that are just kind of hey, let's start something. That's just going along with the ride. Trying to hide behind the Black Lives Matter when they're marching and stuff. They go behind them, creating the chaos. So I don't know if it's Antifa. I don't know who it is, but it's a bunch of knuckleheads. Yeah. So I don't know if Black Lives Matter. I don't know for my own. I just hear this and.
Well, I've seen local posts through like Facebook events in my local area from BLM leaders calling for not peaceful protesting. I physically read it, I've seen it, and so let's just say it didn't go so well.
Right.
The cops pretty well shut that down very quickly.
Wow. Yeah, and I look at
again, that's not everyone.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of people who want to be a part of that organization with sincere motives. So it's very important not to think that everyone in that is an anarchist.
Right.
That everyone that's in it has a bad heart.
Right.
I just think that because it's an emotional thing, a lot of people don't do their research and just get behind the idea of justice when justice, one, isn't being served through the organization, nor is the development of Black communities, and it's only enriching the top and white liberals. Keep in mind that funding goes to also the Democratic Party. So it funds a lot of campaigns and a lot of Democratic white politicians.
Wow.
So.
Yeah. There's something
I'm
else.
just saying. That's why white liberals are the biggest threat to the African American community.
Hmm. I look at, you look at systematic racism, the definition. It says, I did a Google search on it. It says systematic racism, also known as institutional racism, refers to the ways that white supremacists, that is, the belief that white people are superior to people of other races, is reflected and upon, well, it was reflected and upheld in a system or systems in our society. It looks at a larger structural or institutional operation rather than individuals or biased in behavior. So systematic racism, like it says, his belief that white people are superior to people of other races, and you know, what you're talking about is very important. You think about that, it's like, man, like this institutional stuff, this system that's set up for our society, and I start looking at that. It's like seeing the whole. You got to see the whole picture. I know
Right?
you talked about Black Lives Matter, and we were talking about yesterday institutional racism. Can you comment on that?
Give me a specific institution.
Just say like the educational system or the
Oh
political.
yeah, the education system is terrible. My gosh, you think about this. Okay?
Right.
We have school districts that hold students hostage to that school because of where they live.
Right.
Okay, so I live in a place where there's several really good schools
Mm-hmm.
that are funded extremely well because of location.
Mm.
We have the school right next to the mall, so all those tax dollars, per the small percentage of sales tax that goes to education,
Mm-hmm.
these schools get hugely funded in those specific areas.
Hmm.
You go to the north side of our city, those schools are ran down.
Yeah.
There's very little
Wow.
sales taxes that go there, and not only that, but they have to be propped up
Mm-hmm.
by additional revenues because there's just not enough to go around.
Hmm.
And why does that happen?
Hmm.
Because there's not a lot of sales or a lot of growth in those areas. Okay, so
Right.
then if kids aren't allowed to move outside their district, then how can they have a good education? So
Right.
what happens is our education system holds students captive in
Hmm.
their district, which is why I am a huge. I feel like I'm running for office here or something with all the talking points. It's why I'm such a huge believer in a voucher program. That means that same student on the north side of my town can take that voucher and go to another better school
Hmm.
for his or her education and receive a better education. And
Hmm.
the saying is, oh, but these bad schools are going to close, and what are we going to do? It's like, well, good. Let the bad schools close so that they can go to a better school.
Hmm.
Let's provide vouchers so that they're not held captive strictly by demographic and geographic location.
Hmm.
That to me is an example of systematic racism.
Hmm. That is true. That's true. That's crazy. Yeah, because I know in Chicago, we have certain sections that are like that too, and where a kid's trying to get a good education and stuff, but unfortunately he's in a bad neighborhood, and so it's like a, and then trying to go to a nice neighborhood is a different ball game, like you were talking about. So it's like this person is a good student. Like I dealt with some good students that are really good A students, and they're trying. They want to get out of that down in the hood. They want to get out of the poverty stuff, and they want to they want to make something of themselves. Then I got other ones that just don't want to try. They want to they believe that they're less than, and they work the system, the welfare, or the government system, and it's like you robbing people and stuff like that. It's like, why are you doing that? You need to tap into your talents and gifts that you have, and your
Yes.
skills, and develop some skills. And oh, I got skills, Mr. Hicks. I got skills. I rob people. I'm like, that's not the thing. If you go down to the rich neighborhoods in Chicago and rob people, okay, that's and wonder why you're in the system, the criminal system. But it's like if their fathers did it, their fathers are selling drugs, their fathers are hustling.
And that goes back to fatherlessness as well, and
Mhm.
lower education, poverty, and a vicious cycle.
Mm.
And the other thing too, like I was talking about earlier, is how the expansion of welfare has it basically funded the breakdown of the nuclear family. It made it more enticing for women to not have husbands in the family. And as that happened, there was better provision then there is now because of the rate of inflation. So now these mothers are still struggling. But the same mother can't go get a part-time or full-time job because if she shows income, then her welfare status becomes in jeopardy. Because then, quote unquote, she no longer needs them, which is complete.
Yeah, it's like, man, come on, it's a struggling mom that
she should be able to work and still receive the help that she needs.
Right.
In order to provide for her family. Don't punish her for trying.
Right.
But that's the thing, okay? If you can suppress someone from trying, if you can suppress someone from doing better in their life, and all they are dependent on is handouts, well, who's the person handing it out? Right now, it's the Democratic Party who are big on handouts. But if you can control the handout, then you can control the people who are receiving it. And it's a modern day form of slavery.
Wow. It's crazy.
And you know what? The crowd goes wild for that one.
oh, you got that set up. All right.
But it's true. It is true.
Wow.
The establishment, politics, people in power don't want us to be free thinkers.
Right.
But the freer you are in your ability to think, make decisions for yourself, and to provide for yourself, the more freer life you will have. And why that is so scary to the political elite is because they don't want you to have freedom, because that means they don't have control.
True. That's definitely true.
And that is institutional racism.
Wow. It's crazy. Yeah, so we look at that and it is overcoming the systematic racism, the system that's set up from government, the system is set up from even the fathers, like I said, the African American fathers. Sometimes we go through a lot, and then that's inherited to our kids, or it's like a continuous cycle. It's like it's upon them. So now, okay, their father didn't, he got divorced. He wasn't a good husband, blah, blah, blah. So I'm not going to be a good husband. So, and they don't recognize that, that was like kind of almost like inherited, and if they don't recognize it, it's like being ignorant of it and not, like, hey, how do I overcome this? And I had to really look at that myself. It's like, my dad had a problem with women, and it messed up, the household, messed up. My mom being married to him, it had a spiral effect, the consequence of our sins,
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that's the other thing too. If we look at prejudice and racism in general, you and I were talking about the other day, there's this idea that racism is only from whites to blacks, which is not true. Racism is prejudice against any other person for the color of their skin or heritage. So it's racism is multifaceted, not just white against black. It can be black against black. It can be white against white. I mean, you have the Hutus and the Tutsis in Rwanda that were racist against each other.
I know we're talking about that. Just stop right there. So I know we're talking about that. With racism. Blacks can be racist. Other cultures can be racist, not just white people. And I know we kind of elaborated on that yesterday. And it's like I've seen my own race being racist towards white people, and they didn't want me to be involved with white people or Spanish people or anybody outside the African American community, and so it's not just. I'm just saying from an African American point of view, it's not just white people being racist. It's it could be. It's not about your race. It's about a mindset. Maybe it's the way you're raised. You had that that generational curse from your dad or whatever. He was like that, so you're gonna be like that, and you had that, so it's like a spiral effect, on society, like right now, you see all this hatred stuff going on with you see the Asian, brutality stuff going on, not just,
Right.
so first you had the black, now you got the Asian, and what's gonna be next?
Well, even Asian brutality against other Asians. Look at China right now. Like, my goodness, a lot of people don't know this, but there are some major human rights violations that are taking place right now in China that almost at any other point in history, America would have stepped in because of the what's the word? Catastrophic, not catastrophic, whatever it was. Just, I mean, they are killing people because of their religion. They're killing Chinese Muslims. They are killing gays. They are killing, just because they have a different belief system, just because they have a different sexual orientation. And don't get me wrong, I'm not for homosexuality.
Right.
But I think they deserve to live.
Yeah, true.
They have the right to life, liberty, pursuit of happiness, just like I do.
Right.
And so when we look at systems of oppression, America, as of right now, is if we want to talk about a ladder of oppression, America is at the top in a good way compared to the rest of the world. Does that mean we're perfect? No. But if we really care about what's going on, we need to also look outside the world. Because what's happened is a lot of this stuff is trying to be divisive and divide us. Abraham Lincoln quoted a scripture once that Jesus said, "A kingdom against itself or a house against itself will not stand."
Yeah.
And the biggest issue is we don't wrestle with flesh and blood, but powers, principalities, and rulers and darkness of this age. So this idea of division is meant to bring down not just America, but spirituality. Because remember, the whole purpose for the kingdom of darkness is to have dominion over the earth and to rule. My wife was talking. To have dominion over the earth and over man.
Right. That's how we were created. Yes.
Right. And so it uses racial issues, not just in America, all over the world. And when we hyper focus on one thing, so right now the fight is, oh, we're a racist country, and a lot of people are like, oh yeah, no, we're not. Have you seen China? Have you seen other people in Africa? Have you seen, and what's happening is the racist conversation right now feels like it's trying to lump all whites in the racist category, especially if you're not on board with BLM or Antifa, which I'm not. But I'm for African Americans. I'm for the growth of people. And so when we look at racism as a whole, the division is spiritual.
Right. Yeah.
Not just race against racism. We have to understand that. And that's where we go to war. We war in the spirit. We war in prayer.
Yeah. That's true.
We don't war with bricks and clubs and breaking windows and burning buildings.
Right. That only promotes more violence, if you ask me. You think about the gun stuff, all these mass shootings that are going on right now. You think about that. It's like, man, okay, so why did that person do that? Because there's a spiritual battle going on. There's mental illness going on. There's broken, homes that are going on. So they join the gangs because their home is broken. So, okay, the gangs accept them in. They love on them, so they go where the love is. And unfortunately, some of these young kids are getting taken out because they're getting involved with the wrong people. And, they, like I said, with the mental illness stuff going on, you talk a little bit about that on your podcasts and stuff. You got that mental illness stuff going on. You got this spiritual battle going on. You got the broken homes. You got this hatred and then the systematic racism going on. So you got all this stuff that's creating a kind of uncomfortable environment,
Yeah, I mean, I've had people who haven't known me call me racist, which is the exact definition of racism. what they're doing. And I laughed. I was like, I've been to Africa twice. I have, four men in my life who 3 of them live with us in my family. And I'm black. They're like brothers to me.
Wow.
And I mean, 2 of them came from Nigeria, 1 of them came from Kenya. They all came to school, and there were issues that took place in their education and schooling, and my family stepped in to house them so they could remain in the United States and finish their education. And then even after that, they remained with my family for a number of years, and they're like brothers to me.
Wow.
And so, my legitimate, my real sister, her kids are all black. So for me, when someone's like, "Oh, you're racist," you're right. Like, you have no idea who I am, or my heart, or the people I care about, or the people that are my family. And so a lot of this conversation around racism is based off of emotion and ignorance and being told what to think and feel by mainstream media and politicians.
Yeah, we're seeing a lot of that, whole bunch of that. It's ridiculous. All the fake news and profiting off lies and all that stuff, delusionalism stuff, like it's crazy right now. It's nuts. And we have to make sure we have our heart and mind right, and that's one of the reasons I teach that's strength for your soul, because I want to deal with your spirit. I want to deal with your mind and your heart, and if your heart's not right, your mind's not right, you're ignorant of all this stuff, you don't do your research, you don't fact check or whatever you need to do, your mind, you could have this thinking thing going on, and that's not
You
what
need to check up from the neck up.
yeah, right.
Well, and the other thing too, we were talking about, I'm this way because my father is this way.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, so here's this thing, and I'll be very careful with what I'm about to say. It is obvious that African Americans in the United States, over its history, have been oppressed and have been victims. Okay?
Yeah, it's true.
That's truth.
Right.
But there's also a spirit of victimhood that has been passed down from generation to generation to generation. And for a while, it was warranted. But now we're in a season of life where it's not as prominent. People are still wanting to claim victimhood. And that needs to stop, because you, as an individual, will never be able to grow past victimhood. And I say that as someone who struggled with a victim mentality myself from being bullied growing up.
Right.
I had someone in a job interview told me that they're not going to hire me because I'm a victim. I have a victim mentality. And I was like, no, I don't. And I didn't like the guy. And then I realized over the next few days, he's right. And at that moment, I had to start changing my mindset. I'm not a victim.
Right.
Everything that happened to me, this isn't racial, so this is a different scenario, but everything that happened to me as an adult, whether it was a bad boss who I took that job. I chose that. My boss was terrible, but I chose the job. I could have gone to a different one.
Right.
So I've learned how to take extreme ownership of my situations. I look at, when we talk about victimhood and people saying, oh, there's no opportunity, in this Black community or whatever, I call BS. It might not be as great, okay? But that doesn't mean that there's no opportunity, and that doesn't give me an excuse to not try. Because I have friends who've come over from Nigeria, from Kenya, from South Africa, from Uganda, come over here with no family, no money, and make something of themselves. And a lot of them are doing better financially than I.
Wow.
They figured something out that I, who lived here, haven't, in the opportunities that I have.
Yes,
So,
That's another thing too. You got the so I do like biblical history and stuff like that, and ancient African American history or African American history, and I see that there's African Americans. Some of them came from America back during the day with the along with natives, indigenous people, aboriginals, and then you have this other group that came from Africa. And it seems like my friends from Africa, I don't know what it is, but they come over here and they get opportunities like faster for some reason than African Americans do. I don't know what it is, and they make a comment like one of my Nigerian buddies. He said like, "Hey, you guys have all these opportunities over here, but you guys are going around with pants hanging down, blah blah blah." And I'm not saying that about every African American,
Right.
but I had to squash that and say, "Hey, look, no, I'm an educated man. God's giving me opportunities and stuff, but you can't categorize everybody like that. Not everybody's walking around with their pants down. Not doing something, playing a victim, and yeah."
The other thing is desperation and hunger.
Mm.
So individuals that come over from a foreign country, they're in a desperate situation. They can't come, they don't get to fall back on the government like
Right.
so many Americans get to.
Mm-hmm.
They have to make it work. They are hungry because guess what? Poverty in America is better than most riches in Nigeria. The average Nigerian, the average Uganda, the average Kenyan. So what we consider poverty is luxury in most of these countries.
Yeah, and that's what they're seeing. I think that's what they were talking about. Like, we have all these opportunities here, and how is it that we, can't, get a job or can't get ahead or that type of stuff. Like, hey,
Right.
playing that. I guess they see the victim thing that we're talking about. Some of them, play the victim role. I've seen some of my friends, and they start doing the drugs, and like we talk about, the home is broken, father's not there, so they go to an outlet, they go to drugs, they go to alcohol, and then they do the victim thing. So it's like, my father was like this, or I could have did that, but thank God that God got me out of that, and changed, transformed my mind when I became a new creature in Christ. And thank God that the Spirit of God in me, it recognized, hey, we need to stop the cycle, marriage cycle, stop that that victim mentality stuff, stop that cycle, and of the labeling of African American male, yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see. The other thing, time is
I got time for about one more question.
yeah. What was it? I had another question for you. Okay, so let's wrap this up. So how could we overcome this systematic racism, or just strengthen our souls, or what strategies can we use to be a better person, and overcome this, overcome this this mindset, this
Yeah.
yeah.
The first thing is we have to educate ourselves versus believe the political talking points. That's number one. Once we educate ourselves, then we have to inform others. And as we inform others, we gain influence. As we gain influence, we run for office. And when we run for office, we make a difference.
Yeah.
That's how we do it.
Yeah.
And in the meantime, before you get to that, I'm just going to just vote Republican as of right now. Because but think about this.
Yeah.
Right? The Democrat Party is, oh my gosh, COVID.
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, they are letting in millions of immigrants. We have a crisis at our border that they are letting in. So don't tell me they're worried about COVID when they're letting millions of immigrants illegally come in. Previously, in the last administration, they were being held by the Mexican government on the opposite side of the border and not allowed in.
Yeah, that is a touchy situation
So,
there. I mean,
yeah,
I don't think either one of them did it correctly. I mean, like perfect, but that's kind of a tough situation.
Right.
One person might have this mindset, well, thinking this way. One person, is thinking that way.
Well, I'm
And
just using that as an example of hypocrisy.
yeah, you're right
Don't
about
let millions of people into your country if you're worried about COVID that are
that. True.
traveling in mass migration.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true.
And so look at where the hypocrisy lies and then vote out hypocrisy.
Right.
Vote out, well, and the other thing too is a lot of these white liberal men and women
Mm-hmm.
are receiving bunches of money in their campaign
Yeah.
from the organization called Black Lives Matter.
Well,
why is your money going to vote in rich white liberals to retain their power and wealth?
yeah, and I have a comment on that. So yeah, you got that you got your point of view on that, but you know, I think both parties right now need to come together. But
Oh, for sure.
just I mean, then you look at the Republicans where they're getting all this funding from these all different types of groups and stuff like that, and
Which
they were
groups?
the Proud Boys and all that stuff, they were like joining them, and so you got both of them are wrong. I mean, like, hey, you getting funded, you're funding for saying
Well, from my
lies.
understanding, the president of Proud Boys, he's Hispanic.
Yeah, I know, but they were getting funded from all that. You saw the Capitol stuff and all that. I'm not going to get into that political stuff, but the difference we have to make is, that we have to be, beacons of light. And hey, we see injustices. Hey, hey, stop doing that. Blah blah blah. And that's one of the reasons I think I'm going to run also. For making a difference in the world and in government, and not be a hypocrite and try to be a positive leader and not get caught up in all this stuff. Like, hey, the Republicans wrong, the Democrats wrong. They're both doing shady. They're both doing shady stuff, or they're both doing stuff that people don't really care for. So how can we bring it all together and squash both of them? Like, hey, let's do this better. Why don't y'all come together? And okay, we're weak at this point. People are saying we're weak at this point. And let's figure out what we're weak at and get stronger. And I'm gonna leave you with this. Strength for the soul is we're talking about our weaknesses, and as humans, as people, we have a sinful nature, and if we follow that sinful nature by murdering people or hating people or beating people down, and think that even when we get in high places that we're not accountable, so we have to be accountable, for our actions and our behaviors. And we talk about that in school about respecting your neighbor, being accountable, being responsible, and that's important. And I don't want to keep you on this forever, and I think our time is about up. But
no, for sure. And thank you so much for letting me come on and talk about this, because this is a passionate subject of mine that I don't really get to talk a lot about, because again, this is probably a lie I tell myself, and I should join the conversation, but because I'm white, I often don't ask for a seat at the table.
Yeah, and I think that was
probably a lie I'm telling myself.
Yeah, no, I think that was a God connection with both of us, and I hope that we get a chance to talk again about this issue again. And you want to give your information out to the listeners so they know what your podcast site is.
Yeah, again, the podcast is the Whole Person Podcast.
Mm-hmm.
It's on Spotify, iTunes, all the major podcast platform networks. I'm all over social media under Evan Herman.
Mm-hmm.
You can reach out and connect with me there to hang out and talk more, or to throw me some hate mail.
Yeah, you take it in stride. I was like, yeah, I got my first hate mail on my website. On my broadcast, and it's like, okay, they did Facebook thing, and it's like, like cussing and stuff. It's like, well, okay, you don't want to hear this, then get off my page. Like, hey.
Yeah.
But right now, we're at a point where people don't want to hear truth. They don't want to hear it. They want to hear, whether it's fake news or, lies and stuff like that, and they're profiting off this lies. And we can't.
I appreciate you letting me on. I do have to go.
Okay.
Podcast is now.
Okay, I'm sorry. All right. God bless you, man.
You too.
All right.
Take care, brother.
Bye. All right. So that was a man, Evan Herman, that was on the line. He is passionate about that, systematic racism stuff. So our time is about up. You guys that are on Facebook, you guys that are on, you'll see me on other sites, but I'm having some problems with StreamYard. This broadcast will be on Anchor also. But you guys have a blessed day. And I pray and pray and pray and pray that we heard something that will change our minds. he gave some good points about racism. It's not a color, it's a mindset. It is a how you raise. It's um, like yeah, stinking thinking. So God bless you guys. I gotta go. Hopefully, you guys come on here again. We'll get the StreamYard thing right. But you'll hear the replay on Twitter, on Tumblr. You'll see it on my YouTube page. So once again, Pastor Daggie, Derek Hicks Ministries. You can go to my website, derekhicksministries.online. I'm on social media, podcast stuff. We're doing strength for the soul. Please listen to that so we can get our souls right, our minds right, and be renewed and encouraged. God bless you guys. You got any comments? If you want to email me, derekhicksministries@gmail. God bless. Peace. Shalom. We need God.